Alright, it's time to make season 3 of Total Drama Island, but it's my way, how I would write it. I already made a video about what I want to see in season 3 of Total Drama Island, and I made a TikTok short after it with some more ideas. So this video is going to be about combining those two and making an actual season with an elimination order and everything. Before I actually get into talking about the season, I've got to say that every episode isn't going to get a detailed description of every single action that's made. That's just going to take up way too much time. Some episodes will require extra details, while some episodes only need the main plot, the main idea explained, so that's what'll happen. And at the end of the day, I'm not working with a production company with an expert writing staff and they have months to write a season. Nah. I'm just a guy that has a preferred elimination order for next season, but just listing it off is pointless, so I wrote a whole season around it. Alright, with that said, it's time to get in here. The season will be in the 26 episode format. The location will be at the island since it's still named Total Drama Island, and I explained why it's better to keep it at the island in the wish list. There will be 4 new characters added to the cast, 2 girls, 2 guys. The girls' names will be Charlotte and Josephine, Josie for short, while the boys' names will be Allan and Isaac. The names were randomized. They don't matter in the grand scheme of things. They're just placeholder names to make it easier to tell the story. Alright, now for the teams. I gave them some randomized names, although I'm probably not going to be saying them that much. Team Hedgehog is going to be Priya, Julia, Raj, Chase, Emma, Bowie, Z, Damien, Allan, and Josephine. Team Salamander is going to be Caleb, Millie, Wayne, MK, Lauren, Nichelle, Ripper, Axel, Charlotte, and Isaac. Unlike the team names, the teams and how they're put together, that isn't random. There's some dynamics that I want to be explored. Priya has never been on a team without Millie, so she just had to be split up from her. Same with MK and Julia and the Hockey Bro, so I had to split up the pairs and have them interact with different characters. I would have preferred 3 teams, but I didn't want to rip off World Tour. Same reason why I went with 4 new characters rather than 2 or 3 counting Blaney. Alright, now that everything is set up, it's time to get into the season. Episodes 1 and 2 are going to be one big 2-part episode like Island and World Tour's premiere. The first episode is mainly going to be about the contestants catching up with each other, meeting the new contestants, stuff like that. And the second episode is going to be more challenge focused. Everyone acts just about the same, so the only characters that matter now are the new characters. Allan is heroic while Charlotte is villainous. Josie is semi-comic relief, while Isaac is a complete comic relief character. Alright, for the challenge, they're going to be playing for a buffet reward, so the premiere is going to be a non-elimination round. Hedgehogs win behind a strong performance from Priya, and while they're at the buffet, the episode ends with Bowie talking to Josie about how Priya rocked the challenge, which they're thankful for, but that could be dangerous later on in the game, so they agreed that she should be at the top of the target list. Even with Bowie standing up to the cheating in season 2, he still has a shaky reputation because of his season 1 gameplay, so he can't just let anyone know about this plan right now because the plan might get blown up before it even gets off the ground. He told Josie because she's already well liked, and Bowie felt like he formed the closest relationship with her. So that's how the premiere ends. In the third episode, it's actually really straightforward. At the challenge, Priya's gonna get heart eyes for Caleb after taking his shirt off, something like that, and that's going to affect her performance in the challenge, and she's gonna lose it for her team. This sets her up to be the first one eliminated. I've already explained my reason for why she should be the first one out multiple times, but the endgame reason will be because she sold the challenge, so there's one. But also, she's a previous winner and they know that she has Caleb and Millie on the other side waiting for her when they get to the merge phase, so they're just going to take out a big threat early. This plan was set up by Bowie and Josie. Like I said, Josie is well liked, Bowie isn't, so most of the social work came from Josie. The only person that didn't want to vote for Priya was Damien, which got him in the bottom 2 as a backup target because he didn't want to go along with the majority, but it didn't matter because just about every vote was for Priya. In the 4th episode, this is one of those episodes that needs a shorter explanation. The main idea is that I want Julia to get expelled from the game. Doesn't matter how, but just to make a scenario, I want Charlotte from the other team to egg Julia on while the challenge is going on, trash talk about her or something like that, and she ends up fighting Charlotte. She's gonna lose the fight badly, showing that there's a new villain in the game, and in the scuffle, she's gonna break part of the challenge or something valuable to Chris McLean, and that's gonna get her expelled. The 2 biggest screen hogs of the new generation get eliminated in back-to-back episodes, so that leaves a lot of room for other characters to shine. In the 5th episode, MK is disappointed that Julia won't be in the game because she was looking forward to rekindling some of that season 2 magic when the merge phase hit. She's a lone wolf, so she turned to another lone wolf in Lauren and they worked out a little alliance. Despite being kind of volatile, MK sees Lauren as a person that's never made the merge and has no friends, so she should be willing to follow orders if it gets her further into the game. Also, Lauren is a really strong competitor when she's focused on the game, especially in season 1, so it's going to be a brains and brawn, puppet master and puppet type of connection. For the challenge itself doesn't matter. I just want for Lauren and MK to cheat, go around sabotaging folks, making traps, stuff like that. And because of this, Charlotte's gonna realize that they're close. Also, Axel is on her team and Caleb and Nichelle are bonding, so she needs to split up one of those pairs and get a number 1 for herself. So Charlotte is going to get Caleb and Nichelle trapped or knocked off course, which loses the Salamanders the challenge, and Charlotte is going to frame MK and Lauren for it. Because of this, Caleb and Nichelle are going to be the ones that are the most mad at MK and Lauren, which is feeding into Charlotte's plan. But they overlook this for right now and set their sights on Axel because at least MK and Lauren tried to win, while Axel just haven't changed, continuing to love on each other and really slow the team down. Although Charlotte wanted to split up a pair, Axel was a low priority because she didn't frame them. She was aiming for Lauren and MK. And because Charlotte is the new girl and not the most social person, she couldn't get the vote going in another direction. Nichelle and Caleb run this team, so yeah, they gathered up all the votes. They all split their votes on Axel, and this time it's Ripper getting eliminated over Axel because they see Axel as a more capable challenge performer, which is the game that Caleb and Nichelle are trying to play. So that's amazing that they split up the showmance, and now Axel is potentially a free agent that they can pick up. Episode 6. There's been 3 straight eliminations so far, 3 rigorous challenges, so how about a reward? For the challenge, it's going to be a 1v1. They're going to dive underwater and try and be the first to collect all of their items. First team to 5 wins. The reward is going to be an ice cream social, kind of like the feast. Hedgehogs won the last reward, so it's only right for the Salamanders to win this reward to balance it out. I don't want this episode to be complete filler, so at the ice cream social, Charlotte's gonna try and get Caleb to believe that MK and Lauren sabotaged him on purpose, which he was already on the fence about. But this became a big deal for Caleb when Charlotte made up a lie and told him that MK and Lauren were talking trash about Priya. So Caleb said, "Oh, it's like that?" And that's what started his rivalry with MK and Lauren. Episode 7. It should be a chaotic day at Salamander's camp, but instead of talking that stuff over with MK and Lauren, Caleb's gonna process it by himself. Before the challenge, Charlotte is going to tell Axel that she heard Lauren and MK talking trash about Ripper and that Caleb and Nichelle just sat there and let it happen. So now Axel is completely against MK and Lauren. She doesn't respect Caleb and Nichelle for just letting it happen, but her main focus is on MK and Lauren. So what was supposed to be a free agent for Caleb and Nichelle is now exclusively a number for Charlotte, and every day the anti-MK and Lauren team grows. But they're not going to see where things stand at a campfire ceremony because the salamanders are going to win immunity, sending the hedgehogs to the campfire ceremony. They decided to vote off Z here, and the vote was spearheaded by Bowie. Bowie already has Raj and Josie in his back pocket. Also in this episode, after not talking for a while, Bowie and Emma rekindled their friendship, which was led by Emma because she has no one on this team. She pitched for Chase and he was in the bottom two, but in the end, Z was voted out because he wasn't contributing much in challenges and it would ruffle the least feathers as only Chase would be upset at Z's departure. Episode 8. More Charlotte shenanigans. She's gonna throw Wayne's jersey into some mud and blame it on MK and Lauren, but she didn't really get the reaction that she was hoping for, as Wayne actually liked his jersey that way and took it respectfully because he's Wayne, so that backfired on her. The salamanders are gonna win another challenge, sending the hedgehogs to another campfire ceremony. So what's going to happen is the Bowie, Raj, and Josie group are going to act like a clique, act like they're running the game. And because Emma's being left out of talks, she tried to form a voting block against them so they wouldn't just run away with the game. It was tough for her to get on the same page as Chase, but it happened. Emma, Chase, Damien, and Allan all voted for Josie to be eliminated. Bowie is the mastermind, but Emma was concerned that he might have an idol, and if the plan backfired, then she would be next, so she went with the safe approach and eliminated one of Bowie's numbers. Episode 9. This is going to be an early challenge, like right when the episode starts. Salamanders have been flying high for a while, so they're going to lose one here and have to vote out one of their own, which is just what Charlotte has been waiting for. She's banded together a decent anti-MK and Lauren coalition in herself, Axel, Caleb, and Nichelle also comes with Caleb, so that's 4 out of the 9 votes already. But once those 4 decide to hold a team meeting to address some of MK and Lauren's actions and comments, that's what's going to flip Isaac, Millie, and Wayne over to the anti-MK and Lauren side. And all throughout this meeting, MK and Lauren are confused and they're trying to defend themselves, but no one will believe them. MK and Lauren are sad at the state of their games because the campfire ceremony is in 4 hours and one of them will go home. But MK comes up with a plan. She's gonna go on a Splinter Cell style mission and sneak into the control room that's connected to all of the cameras, look through the footage, edit a video, send it to her phone, and yeah, the campfire ceremony just got a lot more interesting. At the campfire ceremony, they're going to talk about basic stuff until it's time to vote. MK tries to state her case one last time, but they wouldn't listen to her. That is, until she showed them the evidence of Charlotte sabotaging the challenge and Charlotte making up lies and laughing about it in the confessionals. This causes everyone to flip on Charlotte and vote her out of the game. I probably didn't say it word for word in my wishlist, but I definitely wanted a pre-merge villain. One, because of unpredictability. Usually when someone gets set up as a villain, they're going far. They rarely flame out early. Also, I just wanted more villains. I didn't want for one villain to steal all of the show for 26 or so episodes. So Charlotte was the main villain for this section. She served her role for a good few episodes. Now it's time for her to go. Episode 10. Julia returns to Camp Wawanakwa as an intern so she can pay for her destruction. If she didn't accept, then she would get banned from all future seasons of Total Drama. I always wanted Julia back in the show. She's entertaining, and although she shouldn't go far as a player for a season or two, she can still hang around in a supporting role. Realistically, this should have been a longer layoff because she's already been in every episode from the first 2 seasons, but I didn't want her destruction to be forgotten and wait until episode 14 or 15 to bring her back. So yeah, Julia's gonna help out in the kitchen, around the dining area. Maybe she's gonna be a test dummy at some challenges and yeah, just stuff like that. She's gonna be helping out around the island. She doesn't have much game information to offer, but she and MK are going to have little chats before the challenges, and that's about it. Like, Julia will probably get 1 or 2 minutes of screen time every episode. and that's going to be her role for the rest of the season, so there's no need to bring Julia up in every episode. She's not an important character in this season. As for the challenge, it's just going to be a chill reward challenge type of day. Winning team gets a spa night, and Julia, along with some staff, are going to work there. The Salamanders win because MK and Julia just have to be together even more. And yeah, the episode ends at the spa with Julia working and MK hanging out, and they're just going to talk to each other, and that's how the episode is going to end. After the Charlotte arc and slaying that dragon, the show needs a cool down episode, so yeah, it's going to be this episode. Episode 11. The basic idea for the challenge in this episode is a jump rope competition. I visualized him standing out on the ocean, and there's going to be this big rope or mechanism swinging back and forth. First team to lose all of their members loses the challenge. Lauren, Nichelle, and Axel dominated this challenge as they were able to stay on forever and outlast the weak Team Hedgehog. Team Hedgehog only really had Allan as a competitor, but despite him being athletic, it's mostly bodybuilding. He doesn't get off the ground much, so this challenge didn't really work in his favor. But yeah, Hedgehogs lose, sending them to the campfire ceremony. Bowie's kind of upset at Emma because they were bonding, but she blindsided him at the last vote, and now he believes that he's in the minority. But Emma is able to smooth things over and said that she made that move because they were starting to get a bit distant because of Raj and Josie, and she said that she didn't want to target Bowie because she locked in with him. So that got Bowie to feel much better, especially when Emma revealed that the voting block was just that, a voting block, not a solidified alliance. And then she said that the plan is to vote out Chase. He's annoying, especially to Emma, so there's that. But also, at the challenge, the Hedgehogs were down a person because Chase didn't want to get his hair wet. So yeah, it was a very easy decision to vote Chase out. He didn't really have a big, important role in this season, but I don't want Chase to be a serious character. I want him to be there for comedy, and yeah, he gets a solid 11 episodes of that. Episode 12. Sometimes I have specific challenge ideas, sometimes I don't. This is one of those where the challenge itself doesn't really matter. I just want to get to the elimination. Salamanders win immunity, sending the Hedgehogs to the campfire ceremony. But before I get into Team Hedgehog, I gotta say that MK and Lauren cheated to get this win. They played dirty, which got the heat back on them from Nichelle and Caleb because they're supposed to be heroic. Also, if they're going to be playing like this, then MK and Lauren are going to be tough to beat in the merge phase, so Caleb and Nichelle agreed to target them. Alright, now for the Hedgehogs. After the last vote, Emma and Bowie are locked in, and Bowie comes with Raj, so there's an alliance and they get to choose between Damien and Allan. They both kind of know that they're on the chopping block and make their pitches. But the alliance, led by Bowie, decided to kick Damien out because they had no idea when the merge would be. If they had solid confirmation that they'd be merging on the next day or something, then they would have just voted out Allan because he's an asset to the team, but individually, he becomes a big threat to just steamroll all the challenges. Also, there hasn't been a double elimination yet, which would really cut into the alliance's numbers if they decided to have a pre-merge double and they went back. So they kept Allan to have the best chance at winning rewards and immunity. Episode 13. Drop your buffs, we are merged. They're going to kick off the merge with a scary storytelling contest that'll be judged by Chef, so there's only one person that can win, which is Lauren. It wasn't the perfect outcome for Caleb and Nichelle, but they can still make this work because MK is vulnerable, and it actually ended up working out decently because although Lauren is the brawn, MK is the brains, and if they cut off the brains, maybe they can pick up Lauren as a free agent. So all afternoon, they went campaigning against MK, while MK spent the afternoon campaigning against Caleb because of his season 2 performance. It was only a matter of time, but yeah, these two pairings were bound to face off at some point. It was a close vote, but MK and Lauren were able to pick up the Bowie alliance that now has Wayne, and they were able to get Allan to vote Caleb out. Allan wanted Caleb out because that lessens his physical competition, and now he's the strongest player left. Caleb was a player that I didn't want to make the final again, but I wanted him to have a story without Priya, and although Nichelle was his running mate for this season, they were a more entertaining pairing than Caleb. And Caleb played a more strategic game this time around and interacted with more contestants, so he had a solid run. Also want to add, at the end of this episode, late at night, Allan was looking for an idol because although he got Caleb out, which was his desired goal, he knows that he could potentially be next if he loses a challenge. So he's looking and he finds an immunity terminator. When played right, it cancels out any immunity, whether it be the immunity won at challenges or idols, so he's going to hold on to that for a good bit. Episode 14. It's a 48-hour wilderness survival challenge. They're going to build a shelter and they have to get water and food on their own. They can tap out at any time and the last person left standing wins immunity. Axel is trained for this stuff, so she wins easily. But also, Lauren is able to survive the 48 hours, forcing Chris to hand out double immunity. In season 1, Lauren beat up a bear, and in season 2, she scared away a lot of wild animals, so I just decided to also have her win this challenge. Allan's in big trouble because he thinks that he's next on the chopping block after he went try hard for this challenge. He's going to go around campaigning, looking for allies, which he somewhat accomplished as he was able to get on the same page as Nichelle, someone that's also in the hunt for allies after Caleb left. But it turns out that Allan wasn't the main target. The Bowie alliance was a tight-knit four now that they had Wayne, and MK saw how Bowie ran season 1, so she got everyone in on a plan to blindside the alliance. She wanted to go right for Bowie, but he's been acting so smug lately, making MK believe that he has an idol, so they put all of their votes on Emma to weaken the alliance. Emma didn't have a standout season, but at least she got a few episodes away from Chase, and she led a blindside on Bowie's little alliance in the pre-merge, so she had a solid season. Episode 15. It's a reward challenge. So for the challenge, I want it to be a big game of Jenga. They have to assemble something, then take it apart without it falling. For the reward, they get flown out of camp into civilization and they're going to stay the night at a resort. There's going to be an arcade and a hot tub and cheeseburgers, and the winner gets to take a partner. There's some nice pairs like MK and Lauren. Also, Nichelle and Allan are forming a working relationship. But actually, Raj is gonna luck into winning this challenge, which puts him in a tough position. Take his boyfriend or his bro. He ends up picking Bowie, and yeah, the episode is gonna end with showing the rest of their day with them hanging out and being romantic. This episode isn't really for the strategy. It's just taking a break away from the craziness to give Raj and Bowie a nice episode. Episode 16. The game is back on. For immunity, it's going to be their mostly annual gross food eating challenge. Allan's concerned because he's worked years to get that body, but he knows that he's a big threat, so he had to go all in. The final 3 ended up being Allan, Axel, and Nichelle, and since they kept on eating everything that was put in front of them, they decided to call it and give all 3 of them immunity. After getting rid of Emma, everyone decided to take another bite out of Bowie's alliance and eliminate Wayne, and used his previous win as justification for why he doesn't need the money. Perfect, because the Hockey Bros finally got split up legitimately, unlike in season 2 when they were only split up for 1 episode. Episode 17. The challenge for this episode is going to be a haunted house themed challenge where they had to stay in this haunted house for as long as possible to win immunity. Last person left standing wins. MK was one of the first ones out because she ran into a haunted version of her unicorn, Theodore. But Lauren clutched up and won her 3rd immunity. She even added to the haunted house experience by chasing everyone around with a chainsaw, which was MK's idea. When they got out of the haunted house, everyone was mad at Lauren, but nothing could be done because she had immunity. But right as they were about to set their sights on MK, Allan revealed to Nichelle that he has an immunity terminator, and word got around camp to everyone but MK and Lauren. So they go to the campfire ceremony, they vote, and right as Chris was about to read the votes, Allan uses the immunity terminator, which cancels out Lauren's immunity. The majority of the votes go on Lauren, and she's out of there, which left MK and Lauren both on the ground, crying. Episode 18. At this point, everyone's against MK because she's an easy vote and she's on the bottom with no allies. She keeps on trying to work her way back in, but everyone shuts her down, meaning that her only chance at survival is winning immunity. For the immunity challenge, they go to a computer lab and they have to develop a video game to be judged by Chris and Chef. MK wins immunity here, forcing the majority to take out one of their own. The original plan was for Nichelle, Allan, and Isaac to go for Bowie and get Millie and Axel on their side, but Isaac has been so annoying lately. He started out funny, but he's just not funny anymore and he's overstaying his welcome, so they voted him out. I barely mention Isaac because he's not a serious character, just comedic relief and another character for the old characters to interact with and add more dynamics. Episode 19. Time for reward. It's gonna be a dancing competition. The winner gets to spend the night at Chris's cottage because in this world, the cottage that he had in All Stars got rebuilt. Nichelle wins this challenge, but instead of taking Allan, she actually takes MK. Nichelle is playing a strategic game this time around and she wanted to keep all options open just in case she needed to flip on someone. So she took MK to work on their relationship. But Nichelle made it clear that MK's only there because she's a potential number for her, so that's not very strategic of Nichelle and that halted serious game talks. Everything was off. Even though MK was at the bottom, she just wasn't going to work with Nichelle because she was so rude to her. So when they were going to sleep, MK laid her head down on a pillow and felt something under it. Under the pillow was an immunity idol. The person that picked that room was going to get an immunity idol, so MK chose the right room and just like that, she's back in the game. Episode 20. The plan is the same. Everyone's on the eliminate MK train, especially Nichelle since she couldn't get anything out of her in the previous episode. Unfortunately for them, there will be no vote. This episode is all about the challenge. They're going to the kitchen for this one and they're going to make a meal for Chef and Chris to judge. Person with the worst meal automatically gets eliminated. Julia works in the kitchen, so she was able to sneak some subtle hints to MK while Chris and Chef weren't paying attention, and yeah, MK didn't have to worry about elimination as she passed with flying colors. Really, it was between Nichelle and Axel, and unfortunately for Axel, she loses. Axel was never someone that I wanted to be a winner, but she was an enjoyable character in the first season, so I wanted her to win some challenges and play a decent role in the season instead of just eating Ripper's face, so yeah, she had a great run. Episode 21. It's time for the final reward challenge of the season. It's 3 versus 3 basketball games. They're going to 21. First team to 3 wins gets reward, which is going to be a feast to fuel them up for the end game and get them through the last few days. The teams are going to be MK, Millie, and Allan versus Nichelle, Bowie, and Raj. It's going to go to a 5th game rubber match, but in the upset of the century, Nichelle actually ends up outplaying Allan in all 5 games and winning it for her team. And yeah, she, Raj, and Bowie enjoyed the reward. The last few episodes have been hectic, so in this episode, there aren't going to be any new dynamics that are formed, nothing like that, just basketball games. In Total Drama Island, one of their best episodes was just about some simple dodgeball games, so I wanted to bring that feel back with the basketball games. Episode 22. The dynamics are roughly the same, although Nichelle starts to realize that they're getting down in numbers and Bowie and Raj are the tightest pair in the game, much closer than her and Allan, and Raj and Bowie have a lot of power and they can really dictate the game based on where they vote. It would benefit her to get in good with them because then she probably makes it to Final 3 guaranteed, but she also doesn't want to go with them because her ideal Final 3 involves Millie because she's a non-threat. So that's not happening on Raj and Bowie's watch because they'll never turn on each other. So although MK was still her main target, Nichelle became open to targeting the couple, and she actually got Millie and Allan on her side for this backup plan. For the challenge, I don't have a specific one. What I want is for MK to cause a bunch of chaos, which injures Allan to get her further in the game, but she ultimately comes up short as Nichelle wins immunity and laughs in MK's face because they all know what's about to happen at the campfire ceremony. But Allan isn't able to continue and gets medically evacuated from the game, which makes Nichelle mad because that's one of her numbers. She went all out in this challenge for nothing, and it was the perfect opportunity to eliminate a strong competitor in MK, someone that has shown multiple times for her it's anything to win. Episode 23. It's Final 5 time. The guys get worried because they're outnumbered, but Millie and Nichelle assure them that MK is the #1 target. Unfortunately for the anti-MK players, the vote will be taken out of their hands again as, for this challenge, its loser gets eliminated. For the challenge, it's going to be a hunt for an indigenous animal of the island. Last person back gets eliminated. MK and Nichelle dominated this challenge, same with Raj, although it required some luck. It all came down to Bowie versus Millie, and in the end, Millie crossed the finish line first, meaning that Bowie got eliminated. I wanted Bowie to have a redemption arc this season and use his schemes for good, which happened at points, so he has a clean slate going into the next season, and he shouldn't get the reaction that he got at the beginning of season 2, and more players should be willing to work with him. Episode 24. It's Final 4 time. Plans are the same. MK is the #1 target. The challenge is going to be a total drama history quiz, which MK is the front runner for, Millie is a close second, Nichelle is alright, and Raj just has no chance. So the challenge started out alright, with MK on a roll and taunting Nichelle, which got her so frustrated. This led to a small fight where Nichelle punched the phone out of MK's jacket and revealed that MK was cheating this whole time. MK gets disqualified and the next highest score wins, which is Millie, and Nichelle also gets immunity for helping to expose this cheating. It seems like MK has no more tricks up her sleeves. She lost the immunity challenge and there's not a medical evacuation to bail her out, like she's a goner. They go to the campfire ceremony and everyone votes for MK. But right as everyone was about to eat their marshmallows, MK whips out her immunity idol, meaning that Raj goes home because that's the only person she could have voted for. Millie and Nichelle are in shock, and MK tells Nichelle that it would have been her if she didn't have immunity and that she should back off. Episode 25. It's the penultimate episode. MK and Nichelle are the favorites versus Millie, a goat that's been intentionally dragged along all season because she's bad at challenges. At this point, MK and Nichelle are fed up with each other, and they also realize that they're each other's biggest competition, so the person that wins this challenge is going to take Millie to the end and lock in a guaranteed win. But they're greeted with yet another loser gets eliminated challenge, which is terrible because now they need Millie to perform well in the challenge, something that she hasn't done all season. This challenge is going to be an assembly competition where they have to assemble a big statue of Chris McLean, kind of like the Jenga challenge, but they don't have to disassemble it. Nichelle easily takes the first spot. Millie looks like she's about to beat MK, but her statue falls, leaving the door open for MK to clinch her spot in the final. Another final 3 finish for Millie. I wanted Millie to be alone without Priya, which happened, but she didn't make anything out of it, which is also what I wanted to happen. I wanted her to function individually, but there were just way more interesting characters on this season, so she just wasn't going to get her own arc and take away from Charlotte or MK and Julia moments or MK versus Nichelle, especially since she got a lot in season 1. Episode 26. It's the final episode with the final 2 that I wanted from the beginning, MK versus Nichelle. I tried to stay away from previously used ideas like the world tour concept and adding just 2 new characters. I wanted to stay away from that stuff and make the season unique. But for the final challenge, a race across the island with the assistance of helpers has never failed. Just gonna cut right to the chase here, Nichelle comes in as the favorite because of her athleticism, which gets her through the challenge nicely. But MK knows the island like the back of her hand, so while Nichelle was running through hidden obstacles, MK was able to avoid all of them, which made up for the difference in athleticism. In a photo finish, MK is going to take this season home for the villains, and she and Julia are going to celebrate like they should have in season 2. And yeah, that's Total Drama Island season 3 my way. It started out as a wish list, never expected to write a whole season, but it happened and it was fun getting to decide how everything played out. Hopefully, a potential season 3 could implement some of this stuff, not word for word, but a pre-merge villain would be nice, so with new characters that don't have to be main characters. Also, it would be nice for Lauren and Nichelle to finally make the merge. But yeah, that's the season, that's all for now.